Now that we've had a look at how we can navigate windows and folders, let's have a look at how we can manage folders and files. Now, in this section we'll be working with the sample documents in the structure folder. So if you open that, you'll see here that there are several folders here arranged in alphabetical order, and then there's a whole host of files here also arranged in alphabetical order, and they're all sort of mixed up. So we'll have a look at ways that we can make it much easier to organise these documents. Now we'll start with the toolbar along the top. Here we've got an Organise drop-down menu. Now you'll see a layout control here with several options that we can turn on and off. We can restore the old menu bar with the File, Edit, View, drop-down menus, etc., which, to be honest, you probably won't need in Windows 7. There are also other panes here. The Details pane is this blue panel that runs along the bottom of the window, and when you click on a folder or click on a file, it'll give you information about it. The Preview pane we'll look at in a little bit, and the Navigation pane is this panel here on the left hand side where you can view your favourite links, libraries, home group computers, network, computer drives, and so on. So you can turn these on and off here quite easily and simply. And then further along the menu bar at the top we have the Change Your View button, and there are more options here. Now we'll start by having a look at the view we've got here. This is called the Details panel. Now we've got name, date modified, type and size columns along the top, and if you move your cursor between two columns you can click and drag those columns to resize them larger or smaller, or you can click and drag the whole column itself to rearrange them and reorganize them. If you click on a column, then you can sort all of the files and folders in that view by that column header, and click on it again to go Z to A instead of A to Z. We'll keep them sorted name A to Z. If you right click on any of these headers, then there are other columns that you can turn on. There's date created, authors, categories, tags, and the options here will vary depending on the types of content you're looking at. It might offer more photo-centric options if you're looking at pictures, for instance. So you can turn these on and off, or you can press more, and this will bring up a list of all of the column headings that are available for every different type of file, be that a contact, or a digital photograph, or a piece of music, or a file. And you can turn things on and off here. Let's say we want to see when documents were created. We can put a tick in date created, press OK, and now we have a date created column, and we can see when the file was created. We can drag it so it's just ahead of the date modified column, and so on. So we'll have a look at some of the other ways that we can arrange files here, because it's all a bit messy. If we right click anywhere in a blank space, then we have several options here. We have a view menu, which again we're going to look at on the toolbar in a minute, but the sort by and the group by options are what I want to look at here. Now we've sorted by name. Most of the time you'll want to sort by name alphabetically, but there are other ways that you can sort your documents. Again, there's a more option here which will bring up options very similar to the ones we've just looked at. But the most interesting ones are the group by options. You can put files and folders in groups depending on their name, when they were created, and so on. I find it very useful to group files and folders by type. So let's click on this and see what it does. You'll see here immediately the view has changed, so we've got folders together, Microsoft Excel worksheets together, PowerPoint presentations together, Word documents together, Wave sounds together, and so on. It's a really, really useful way of being able to organise your files and your folders. You might find it useful to group by when the files were last modified, especially if you've got ongoing projects at work, for instance, or at home, or if you are in a business environment and you're sharing files with other people. You can group files or sort files by the person who created it. Especially if you're dealing with something like Office documents. You can choose all these options in the More section down here, which, as we've seen before, brings up all sorts of options that are available to you. So now we've looked at those, let's have a look at the rest of the toolbar along the top. Now I mentioned the change your view button. Now there's a drop down here and there's lots of different views that we've got. Now I said that we're looking at the details view at the moment, but there are others. There is a list view which will just show all the documents as a list. Now don't forget we've got them grouped here. If we turn the grouping off, then you'll see how they would appear by default. We have a tiles view which can be an extremely useful way of being able to organise your files and folders, especially again if you group them. There is a content view which can give you much more information. You'll see here on the right hand side about the files. Ordinarily you'd have to click on one of these and view details about it on the details pane, but this content view will enable you to be able to see all that information straight away. And then we got 4 different icon sizes. So not only can we select small, medium, large or extra large icons by clicking on it, we can use the slider to change the icon sizes to anything that we want in between. This can make it really easy to be able to see all the files and folders that you've got and make them really accessible for yourself. Let's say we want to choose something around about there. That's pretty good, and you can leave the slider there. Finally, next to this we have the preview pane button. So if we turn on the preview pane, then some files, not all files, if we click on them, we'll be able to see a live preview here on the right hand side. Now it's not working with this file, it's not working with this file, but it is working with this wave sound down the bottom. And if we can press play on that, and it will play that sound. Here we've got a videos folder. If we go into that videos folder and single click on that video, then we can get a preview of this video as well, so we can see that without actually having to open the file at all. So that's how we can navigate files and folders. Again, I've just turned the preview pane off there by clicking the preview pane button again. And in the next segment we're going to look at how we work with folder and file properties. Okay, so now we've had a look at the different ways that we can view and organise files and folders. Let's have a look at how we can work with their properties, and we're still working with the sample files in the structure folder, which you can see here. Now we've got a variety of files, folders here, Excel worksheets, PowerPoint presentations, Microsoft Word documents, and an audio sound. And you'll see here, I talked in the previous segment about the details pane at the bottom of the window. Now if we click on a folder, you can see here that it gives us information about it. It's saying that it's currently shared, can tell us when it was last modified. And if you click on a file, it can give you information about that, its size, when it was created. Here it's also telling us what program it's opened with, and click on the WAV file. Now it starts to give us more information, more options when we begin to look at things like music files and digital photographs. It allows us to do things like rate files. This can make it easy to find and organise things within libraries, for instance, because you can sort files by the rating that you've given them, so that your favourite files will always appear first. The ratings for music also integrate with software such as Windows Media Player and the Microsoft Zoom Player software, which you may have if you have a Windows phone. So you can change the file options here. Now what you can also do is you can right click in the details pane, and you can change the size of it. Let's say if we right click here, then we can change it between the small size, which is set at the moment, a medium size where it will give us more information, and a large size where it will give us more information still about each file. So you can see here, the larger the details pane, the more information that you can get about individual files. If we go into this videos folder and click on that, then we can see lots of information here. we can see its length, and so on. And you'll see here on the rating, as we move over, some of the stars are lighting up. Let's say we want to make this a 4-star rating, then we can click 4 stars, press the save button, and that rating has now been changed. Now there's other things that we can do with files. You'll see here when I rolled over title, a box appeared. This is to let us know that we can actually change the title of this. It doesn't change the file name, but it changes the title of it. For instance, how it will appear in Windows Media Player or in Media Center. So we can change it to Made a House a Home, and again press save when you're done. If we go back a folder, then if we click on this PowerPoint file here, then we can see there's plenty of information about that, and we'll take the details pane back down to medium, which is its normal size. Some files also allow you to add tags. Now tags are words that can describe the file and the content of the file. For instance, holiday, Paris, the name of the people who are in it, and so on. And these tags can make it very easy to organise and find files. Let's say, for instance, if we go to the sort by menu or the group by menu, then in the more options you'll find tags, and you can organise your files by tags. So there's plenty of things you can do here. Now you can also right click on any file or folder, and from the context menu that appears, select Properties, and this will give you more information about it still. It's on the main window here, it'll tell you where it's stored, how big it is, when it was created, when it was modified and last accessed. You can make it read only if you want, you can hide it if you want, you can press the change button here to change the program that it opens with. And there's also the details pane here, which you can see on the 4 tabs along the top of the screen. If we click on details, there's yet more information about this file. Let's go back and have a look at this video file. Right click on that. It tells us it opens with Windows Media Player. We can change this if we want to. We click on the details panel. We can see that we've changed its rating. We can give it a subtitle. Here we can begin to add tags to it. So let's say we want to add the tag home and house. So those tags are now associated. So if we search for home or house in our documents libraries, then it can make it much easier to find these files we're looking for. And there's all sorts of information here, especially if you begin to look at digital photographs. You can see all sorts of information about the camera that the photograph was taken with, and the details pane is very useful indeed. So we'll press OK with that. Then if we right click on a folder itself and select the properties for that folder, again we can see where it is, how many files it contains, and does it contain any subfolders. We can hide it if we want to. We have a sharing tab here, so we can share this folder across our network, and we can say yes, we want to add this to our share. And there are various other options here, including this Customize tab, where we can say we want to optimize this folder for general items, documents, pictures, music, or videos. Although Windows 7 is extremely good at automatically optimizing these folders for you itself. Again, press close when you're done. In the next segment, we're going to have a look at how we can create and rename folders and files. Right, now we've looked at how we can work with folders and files and their properties and how we can view them in different ways. Let's look at creating new files, and we'll look at renaming folders and files. Let's look at creating them first. Let's say we want to create a new folder. Well, you create files and folders in the same way by right clicking in any blank space in an Explorer window, and from the context menu that appears, select the new options. Now at the top of the list here you'll see new folder, and here if we click on this we can create a new folder, and we can call it music. Press the enter key on your keyboard when you're done and you'll see you have a new folder. If we want to create a new file, then the file types that appear here will vary depending on the software that you have installed. We've got Microsoft Office installed here, so it's giving us the opportunity to create a new Word document if we want to, or we can create a text document or a PowerPoint presentation or a new graphical image, and so on. We can create a great deal of different types of file here, and don't forget the programs that appear in this list will vary depending on the software that you have installed on your computer. So let's say we want to create a new Microsoft Word document, and the name is highlighted, allowing us to decide what we want to call it, and we'll call it Holiday Planning, and press the enter key when you're done, and now we have this document, and if we double click on that to open it, it will open in Microsoft Word. Now let's look at renaming files and folders. Now we do this in exactly the same way. We can right click on any folder or any file, right click on its actual icon, and from the context menu that appears you will see the rename option near the bottom of the list. So if we select that, we don't want to call this music, we want to call it Harry's Music. You type the new name, press enter, and that's now been renamed. You can rename any file in exactly the same way. You right click on the file, select rename from the options, and we'll just put in a space, and we'll put an S on the end, and we'll make it loan payments. Press enter when you're done. That file is now renamed. Now in the next segment we're going to look at how we can move and copy folders and files. Now we've looked at creating and renaming folders and files, let's have a look at moving them and copying them. And we're still working with the sample files in the structure folder. Let's say, for instance, we want to move these 3 Microsoft Excel worksheets into the, let's say, this narrations folder. Now there are several ways to do this. We can either move them one at a time, or we can multiple select them. Now there are several ways to do this. We can drag our mouse over all 3 of them, and you'll see that they're all highlighted in blue. Release the mouse button and they're all highlighted. But sometimes files are mixed in and you don't want other ones, so there are different ways to do this. If you click on the first file in the list and then hold down the shift key on your keyboard and click on the last file, all of the files in between will be selected. We can do this here with the PowerPoint files. Also, if you click on a file, hold down the control key in the bottom left of your keyboard and click other files, then it will select the files that you have selected there. So let's say we want to move these 3 Excel documents here into this narrations folder. Well, we've got them selected, so we can just drag, and if we hover over the narrations folder, you'll see a little tooltip has appeared saying that it's Windows is going to move to narrations. Right, it's going to move these files into that narrations folder. So if we release the mouse button, they're gone, they're now in that narrations folder. And if we double click to open that folder, we can see they're in here. Now we want to move them back, but we can't drag them back, so we'll select them again, and we'll right click on any one of them now that they're selected. Now in the context menu that appears you have different options. We have cut and copy that we'll see here. Now cut enables us to move a file from one place to another, or move a folder from one place to another. So if we cut these files from here, then when we move them they will no longer be here. So we'll go back to the structure folder, we will right click anywhere in a blank space, and now we have a paste option. So we'll paste them back here. Now if we'd selected copy, then when we go back into the narrations folder there'd still be a copy there, but there isn't, so we've moved them. Now let's say we do want to copy files. Well, if we go and drag and drop, it's going to do a move too. We don't want to do that. We want to right click on them, select copy from the context menu that appears once we've right clicked on one, open the folder or go to the hard drive where we want to paste them, right click and then select paste. And now we have a copy of the files here, and if we go back to the structure folder then we've got a copy of the files here as well. Also, don't forget, if you open multiple instances of Windows Explorer, let's say 2 instances here, you can use arrow snap by snapping them to the left and right of the screen, and you can move documents between these folders by simply dragging and dropping. Now the rule is that if you're working within your documents folders or within your libraries, if you try and move, if you drag icons and files and folders between 2 locations, it will automatically move too. If you're working with, say, an external USB hard disk, then the default action will be copy to. But don't forget that whatever you drag and drop across, Windows will always tell you in a tooltip, as you can see here on the right hand side, what action it's going to perform, be it a move or a copy. And don't forget again, you can right click at any time and select either cut to do a move and copy to do a paste, copy to do a copy, and then you right click in the new location and you will select paste to either copy or move them across. So that's moving and copying folders and files, and in the next segment we're going to look at deleting and recovering them. Now that we've looked at moving and copying folders and files, let's have a look at deleting them and recovering them. And again, we're still working with the sample files in the structure folder. Now you can see here there's a whole variety of different types of files. Let's say we want to delete this loan payments file. We can click on it, and there are several ways of deleting it. We can either press the delete key on our keyboard and it will say, are you sure you want to move this to the recycle bin, and we can say yes or no, or we can right click on it and from the context menu that appears we can select delete, and again we can delete it. Let's say yes, we do want to delete it. Now have a look at the recycle bin in the very top left of very top right, sorry, of the screen. You'll see it's currently empty. The moment we delete a file, then you'll see that the icon has changed to show us that there are things in the recycle bin. Now we want to delete this cost spreadsheet as well, so we'll select it, we'll press delete on the keyboard. Oh dear, we've deleted a second file by mistake. Right, okay, we need to get this back. So how can we do this? Well, we have the recycle bin here, so we can double click on it to open it, or we can right click and select open it, but be careful, you might want to double click to open it instead, because just under the open option in this context menu is the option to empty the recycle bin. So my recommendation is to select open here, and there we have it, the 3 documents that have been deleted. Now, book sales, we didn't want to delete this item, so we'll click on it and we'll press restore this item, which is an option on the toolbar along the top. So that has now disappeared from the recycle bin, and we can see that that's now back precisely where it was before. We can restore other files as well. We can restore the selected items, we can restore just one item, or with nothing selected there's an option to restore all of the items. So let's click that. Yes, we want to restore all of the items from the recycle bin, and now they're all back and the recycle bin is now empty again. That's a relief. But we really do want to get rid of these loan payments. Now let's say, for instance, that you want to delete a file, and you really mean to delete it. You don't want it going to the recycle bin and sitting around. You actually want to delete it. If you hold down the Shift key on your keyboard while you press the delete key, then it will Windows will ask you sure you want to permanently delete this file. If we press yes, then that file will be deleted, bypassing the recycle bin, and it will be gone completely for good. That's by holding down the Shift key when you press the delete key. Now, watch the recycle bin icon in the top right of the screen here when I permanently delete this file. Right, we can see the recycle bin icon hasn't changed, and if we open the recycle bin, it's empty. That file is gone completely. There is no way now of getting that back. You can delete folders in exactly the same way by pressing the delete key or right clicking and selecting delete from the context menu, and folders again, if we delete this, it's appeared in the recycle bin and we can restore it easily as anything. There you'll see it's back here. Now there's another feature within Windows 7 that can help you restore files, especially if you've made changes to them that you didn't mean to make, called previous versions. If you right click on a file and select properties from the context menu that appears, there is a previous versions tab. Now sometimes when you've made changes to a file, Windows will store the previous versions of that file, so you can go back to a previous version. However, because of the way this feature works within Windows 7, there is no guarantee that it will do this. For instance, cancel that. If I open this file now and I edit it and we open it in Microsoft Excel, let's say we want to change this feature here to 300, this feature there to 250, we will save the file and we will close it. That file has now been changed. If we right click on it and select its properties and go to the previous versions tab, Windows hasn't on this occasion saved previous versions of the file. Now, why am I highlighting this? Because previous versions can be very useful, and if you're making gradual changes to a document over time, it's a great way of being able to restore to an earlier version of the file. But you can't guarantee that earlier versions of the files will be backed up by the system, because it doesn't work that way. It's not a backup program. You should always have a proper backup program, be that the backup options in Windows 7 themselves itself, which are generally excellent, or a third-party backup solution. But sometimes previous versions will keep versions of files, and you can select previous versions here. So that's it about deleting and recovering folders and files. And in the last segment of this section, we're going to look at how we can create shortcuts to these files as well. In this section so far, we've been looking at how we manage folders and manage files, but we might want to create shortcuts to folders and files. Now, first of all, let's talk about what a shortcut is. A shortcut is a pointer to that file or to that folder. It's not an actual, it's not the actual file or folder itself. Shortcuts are commonly kept on the Windows 7 desktop. We can see here recycle bin is a shortcut to the actual program itself. If we pick up and drag, again we're working with the sample folders in the structure, sample files in the structure folder here. If we drag this file onto the desktop, now you remember I talked previously about these little tooltips that appear, and this one is saying it's going to move it to the desktop. So if we drop that file, we can see it's gone from this folder and is now on the desktop. Now, the desktop is not the best place for storing files because it's not included with general backups if you have backup software like the backup software in Windows 7 or third-party backup, so it's not a good place for storing files, but you can have shortcuts here. So let's move it back. Okay, so we can see it's disappeared from the desktop and it's now back where it was. If we right-click on the file, we can select the Send To options from the context menu that appears. Here, we can send it to the desktop and it's saying it will create a shortcut. So we'll click on that. Now we have an icon on the desktop. It's called Costs, the same as the spreadsheet here, but it's got the word shortcut after it, and you'll see in the bottom left hand corner there's an arrow. Now that arrow in the bottom left corner of an icon tells us that it is a shortcut. This means that if we double click on this icon to open it, it will still open exactly the same file, but if we delete this icon, let's say we want to permanently delete it, all we're deleting is the shortcut to that file and not the file itself. The file stays there. We can create a shortcut to videos. Remember, we don't want to do this by dragging and dropping the videos folder because it will want to move it. We can right click on that folder and from the Send To menu select Desktop, Create Shortcut, and here we have a shortcut to the videos folder. You have the shortcut icon in the bottom left, so we know it's a shortcut, and there's shortcut in the name, and if we double click that, then it will open that videos folder, exactly the same as opening it here. So that's how we can create shortcuts, and you might find them useful because they can make it very easy, especially on the desktop, to access commonly used files and folders. Well, that's all it for this section. In the next section we're going to look at connecting to the web and the internet.